And then there were three.
I don't think so. There's no voting, right?
Okay. Mm. Okay, let's go. Liz has to leave at 1:30, so and Cindy's in the middle of a conference, which I hope is going great. Um, okay, agenda, which Rachel graciously prepared for me. And then we like workshopped it at the New London Maritime Heritage Festival, or the Connecticut Maritime Heritage Festival in New London
Yeah.
last Saturday while we were manning our booth for
Having a
like
great
a
time.
day. Yeah, no, it was pretty great actually.
Yeah.
Um, uh, welcome and updates. Welcome everyone. It's September. It's halfway through September, kind of, and I can't believe it. Um, any important updates that anyone wishes to share?
The IDEA guide is live on the website.
Hmm.
So
Okay, great.
it's not new really, because we didn't have a meeting last month, but
Mhm.
it's live on the website. And I think it was in our last e-blast that we sent out. So hopefully people are seeing it and using it.
Mhm.
But it's there.
Great. Are there more festivals scheduled, or is this kind of like wrapping up the season?
Yep. So Saturday is Pride in Hartford.
Okay.
Um, so that'll be hopefully pretty good. A few folks from CTH are going to be covering it, and then Kathy is going to be there as well. And then we'll have one more towards the end of the month in Waterbury at the gathering.
Okay, great. Good. Just a couple more festivals. Wonderful. I'm not sure that I have any major updates. Hello, Margaret. Welcome.
And that's an
Morning,
update. We have a
everybody.
new committee member.
Yeah. Should we do introductions? Yes. That's okay. Hi, I'm Amherst Williams. I'm the executive director of the Connecticut League of Museums, and I am the chair of this community and organizational engagement subcommittee.
I'll go next. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Margaret Kahn. I'm the director at the Booth and Dimick Memorial Library and the treasurer of the Connecticut Library Association. And I'm taking over for Doug since he's in Massachusetts now.
Yes. Thank you so much for stepping in. We're pleased to have you.
Of course, I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, great.
Hi, Margaret. I'm Liz Shapiro. My name tag says the Connecticut Office of the Arts, but I run the Connecticut Office of the Arts, the State Historic Preservation Office, and 4 of our state museums. And I work for the Department of Economic and Community Development. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
And hi, I'm Andy Horowitz. I'm a professor of history at UConn, and I serve as the Connecticut State Historian.
Good morning.
I'm Rachel. We've met
Yeah.
a while ago, but we've met. And I work at Connecticut Humanities. I'm an administrative assistant for the 250th Commission.
And Cindy Tolosa is also here. Okay, I don't know. She's like at a conference right now, so she'll be kind of in and out depending on conditions in her general environment, but looks like she's here now.
Yeah, there were tables rolling by. So, but Cindy Tolosa, project manager for the 250th and director of advancement at Connecticut Humanities. Again, Margaret.
Okay, great. We were just doing some quick welcome and updates. I don't know if anyone has anything else. We can dive right into the agenda, which okay. So next on the agenda is thinking about developing our work plan for next year. And I think the idea here was to establish some working groups, change up the meeting schedule a little bit. And because I think, we've been talking about this just a little bit, whether it's necessary for us to meet every month or if we can do some kind of work in working groups outside of our meetings and bring those back and meet a little bit less frequently. So is everyone good with shifting to a quarterly meeting schedule? Okay, great. Is there more than we need to discuss on that, Cindy and Rachel, other than to
We
agree?
can meet as needed too. I
Yeah.
mean, quarterly as needed. That's
Great.
Just one, I guess, point on that is this, I know we talked to Amherst, but it is still a good time for everybody, Thursdays at 11.
Okay.
well, it's probably good for everybody who's here.
Yeah.
So that's a thing, right? Andy and myself, and actually Doug were our frequent flyers.
hmm
So
Maybe it is worth doing some outreach to the full, like if we shifted the time, I don't know if we would get any folks back in more regular attendance. I would be glad if that were to happen. Because I feel like our group has dwindled. Is there a good mechanism that for picking that time? Do you guys want to do like should I send out an email, or do you want to do like a doodly doodly? Coggly doodly. Sorry, I'm getting into Bert Dow Deep Water Man right now.
I will vote.
was-
I will vote for the doodle poll before the next meeting
Okay.
to figure out when we can maximize the number of people who are here.
Great. Okay. So would our next meeting be in September, October, November, December, or in the new year? Or are we doing monthly until the end of the year?
The doodle poll, I'm thinking we probably want to meet one more time before the end of the year.
I think that
And
makes sense.
we can give a little bit of, it'll probably have to be after the next commission meeting, because I don't think
Yeah.
we'll get something on the books in this month. So
Yeah.
something hopefully in November so
Mhm.
that we meet before the January meeting, because
Okay.
I think folks will be happy to take December off of meetings.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you guys want to set that up, or should I set up a doodle?
We can take care of it.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Sorry, I wasn't able to print the agenda, so I'm not looking at it. I'm like copying it down on a piece of paper because I had to like reboot my internet, and now my printer's not connected to anything anymore. So, okay. So I think Rachel and Cindy, I know that you had kind of developed some of the ideas around the working groups. I've talked with Rachel about them a little bit, but I didn't know if you guys wanted to, walk through these with us and kind of take over for a little while, just in sort of the thinking behind the working groups and things like that.
So I think at the end of the day, this committee is the biggest, has the most commissioners on it. And so we're hoping that some of the bigger projects related to engaging the public, engaging organizations, things like that, will run through this committee. And we kind of grouped projects together based on who we're trying to reach, with the hope that commissioners can kind of pick which of those groups of people they're best suited to engage with. So out of that came an idea for 3 working groups. So an organizational engagement, general public engagement, and then more of a content creation group. So we had a lot of work on that IDEA guide, and we've talked about doing kind of other guides for organizations. So the organizational group would be reaching out to organizations, but the content creation group would be really focused on creating those documents. And the hope would be that instead of having 12 people kind of editing during a meeting, we can just have folks working offline on some of these different projects, and then we can all come together and talk about it. So I know that we have kind of our core group of folks who have been at most of the meetings here. So I'm curious what you all think.
Yeah. So I think dividing into 3 groups when there's 4 of us who show up is probably not really the best way to move forward. in my experience. If you can triple the size of this group and people who show up, then totally.
Mhm.
But we need at least, 15 or 16 people who are showing up regularly in order to make this work. I can't think of how it would work otherwise. Just adding more layers of bureaucracy on top of something. Although I don't hate the structure,
Yeah.
again.
Well,
Maybe it makes more sense to think about it in terms of structuring the work rather than splitting into like subgroups. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. I mean, it seems to, there's a, it's a sensible way, I think, of thinking about the sorts of things that we're doing. There are already a couple of things that, um,
Andy, you were saying something.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, the only thing I was going to say was that I'm not going to say, I'm going to see what I think after I hear more. But just in terms of doing, I agree that writing by committee during the meeting has not been the most effective use of our time. So I don't know if we need another structure for that, but I think it's probably worth saying that the right way, if we have to produce more paper for this group, the thing to do is to task some people with getting it done in advance of a meeting and then have it come up for approval.
Mm-hmm.
Call it what you want, but I think we can pull some of that group editing out of this time.
Mm-hmm.
Would be fine.
Good. Do you folks want to walk through some of the subpoints in each of these sort of areas working areas, if we want to think about that? Just so folks have
maybe let me ask a different question.
Yeah.
Cindy, over the next few months, what actually do you need this group to do? That's what I want to know. What do we have to do? And then we can figure out a strategy for making sure we get it done as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
So I think the hope is, one, brainstorming a little bit around a couple of initiatives that folks on the commission have brought up or are aligned with the National Commission. Specifically, America Gives is an idea around like public service and volunteerism and trying to think how we can connect the commission to that. So brainstorming around that, creating some of these other guides that we've talked about, but again, really trying to rethink the way we did it so that we're not spending lots of meetings editing live. And then really, I think we are looking at working with Fiona and Epic to do some kind of oral history collection. So getting that information out there. So a lot more, we're hoping to kind of organize some of the work that we're doing and have folks reach out to others about it. And then in terms of the general public engagement, we're looking at thinking about what we're doing with fairs and festivals. I think that's a conversation we want to have. We've had some success, but not huge successes, and trying to decide whether it's worth our time. And then working with local committees to kind of figure out how we're engaging the statewide commission with kind of the local groups that are doing work in their towns. So there wasn't a huge amount of clarity in that, but I hope that helps a little.
I'll say this, I think in terms of like promoting stuff, some of this just says like talking up things that are going on. I hear that as being America Gives, this oral history project that we would need to hear more about, but like that kind of stuff. Frankly, that's an email. I read my emails from you carefully. And if you tell me talk about this when relevant, I will. I can take some talking points, but I don't think we need, I would suggest we don't need a subgroup for that. Just hit everybody with the email. For the discussion of whether it's worth the time for fairs and festivals, on the one hand, I'm prepared to entirely defer to you if you think it's not worth the time, or to have a discussion about it as a group, but I don't know that that needs continued introspection. That seems like just a
Mhm.
judgment call to make at this moment. And mine is, I haven't been there. If you've been there and it's not worth your time, let's not do it anymore. And those are the ones you said. I'm going for ruthless efficiency here,
Yeah.
Cindy. Not just like I'm here, like I'm glad to give as much of my time as you think I need. But again, if it's promoting stuff, just tell me what you want me to talk about. And if it's making a call on fairs and festivals, I'm prepared to make it now. And if it's like I say, these guides, I think that should be done outside of the meeting structure, probably with one person taking the lead on each one, and then
Mhm.
maybe with a partner, and then reporting back at the meeting to have people read over it, probably in advance of the meeting, and then talk about it at the meeting if there's anything to change. But that would be my suggestion for these things. But I say that, just offer that up for conversation as a proposal.
I think that's good. I mean, we developed a good list for outreach, I think. I don't know if that's something that you want us to revisit. If there's any build out that still needs to happen on that. Um, I'm always happy to get stuff out to the league list, and try to around some of these things. We probably need to do another like a 250th e-blast sometime soon, but I think one of so I went to a festival, if we want to talk about this a little bit. It wasn't a very large one. I would say that it was enjoyable to be there because it was a lovely day by the water. I'm not sure it's like something that I feel was getting us like tons of engagement, but I don't know if that was just sort of the group that was there. Introducing what we're doing is a mouthful, I found. We're with the state 250th Commission commemorating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I don't know if you guys have developed like a snappier sort of thing for that, but I found myself sort of being like, how do I grab you in? And thinking about like what is playing well on that. And some people were interested, and some people just wanted their kids to take some bubbles, and some people stayed and put stuff on the board. I don't know how many you had at the end of the day. It was rewarding to a limited extent. I'm not sure it was worth like, my Saturday. But I think a larger, something with more people might have had better sort of engagement. But you guys have probably been to more of these than I have, and may have thoughts on that. I would think that working with the local commissions would probably be at least as useful. And I can see that as something that the league can certainly support and assist with. Because those are the folks that are like doing stuff already. I don't know. It was just, of the things that you listed there, that seemed to be the one that, I would like to think a little bit more about what that looks like. Because I think that those local commissions are really eager to engage, and are the ones who are probably going to be helping facilitate most of the stuff that's happening on the ground. They're the ones who like, they see the 250th booth and are like, oh yeah, we've got a commission in Norwich, or whatever. So I think that what Andy's comments suggest to me is that, you guys are probably best positioned to make the call on the festivals and fairs. And, I know it's been a little bit of a struggle to get anyone but Steve Armstrong to come out to like more than one of these. But there's publicity stuff, which I think we can handle outside of, in our own roles as disseminators of information. Like that's why we're on this subcommittee, is because like we have these networks and these lists. And then I think we could think about the, in terms of documents, like revisit the list of things that we may want to create over the next year, and make some assignments. Like I'd work on a history related one with Andy. We can go do that. And and give it, give us a deadline and we can work on that.
I would 100% second what Andy and Amra said. I think that the key is these local committees, the municipal committees that are happening. And that's just based from what I'm hearing. So I know, just as an example, just one example, that like Andrew, who runs the Eric Sloan Museum, is on the Connecticut Kent 250th, right? So we have probably wide networks of people that we already know, like the folks that Amherst is already working with in the museum community that are can connect us to those committees. And I think that they're the ones who we should listen to, and they should tell us what they need. Part of that. I mean, we can go ahead and make all kinds of guides, but if they are not going to use a friggin' guide, or they're using one but not another, I mean, there could be a guide on library, like using library digital online resources to find out more. I mean, that would be, I think, probably useful. So, and I don't know what's already been created in that. So I just think, fairs and festivals, you're not going to ever get members of anything to be going to these the way that you need to, and the numbers that you need to go to. It's just not going to happen. And happy to be told about anything else and disseminate in any way you think is possible. But I think it would be great to get a Zoom meeting for a couple of them together for these local commissions that we already know exists. We can all be on it. We can sort of plan what we're going to say, and then just literally all of us listen to them and then figure out how to do what they need. That is like low hanging fruit.
So we've had one of those meetings so far, and we have a kind of a monthly series set up to get them talking to one another and have us there listening, but really a chance for them to connect with one another. So far, all we've really gotten back in terms of what they need is general guidance, which is not very helpful, and funding, which we've
So they're always going to ask for money 100% of the time. It will never be enough, and they will always ask for it. So you have to sort of say, table that. I'm always like, yeah, we're not talking about money. And I think to figure out like general guidance, I think it's all of this is like you have to this is teasing it out. You guys know this. Like, so you've said general guidance, and we are happy to help you. Tell me, how did that come up in discussion? What were you talking about in your meeting where you thought the way to share it with us is general guidance? Like, what was the thing you were talking about? Were you talking about having a parade? Like, then really what they need guidance on is how to create a public, parade that is on roads, right? You know what I mean? Like, where are they coming up with? Or is it a list of things that they could be doing? Well, that's an easy list. You know what I mean? It already exists. So some of this, don't ask people questions with open-ended answers. That is what I've literally learned. When you do a strategic plan, you don't go out there and say, what is it that we can do for you that we're not doing? Because they're just going to tell you a whole lot of things that they think you should do, but you're still not going to do them. You're going to say, this is what we are thinking of doing. How would this be helpful? Would it not be helpful? And then you sort of get them to what would be helpful. So like, you have to really manipulate how these meetings are going to go in order to get to what you want, the goals you want to achieve. I mean, it's great to let them talk to each other. I love that. But they don't know what they want because they have no idea what they're doing. Nobody does. They never do. So that's my like, yay, humanity. But they all mean well, like, right? And so, and it's not that they don't know. They do often, but it's that somebody in the group is telling them that the person who says they know doesn't know. And so they have to default to, we don't know, or more resources, but that's not really what they need.
So can you say more about what has happened at these, because I wasn't really aware of these gatherings of, have there been other commissioners at them, of the sort of municipal commissions and other things like that? Can you talk a little bit more about what work has been done so far?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm trying to remember. The first meeting was back in July, and it feels like that was a year and a half ago at this point.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But it was really like I said, an opportunity for them to connect with one another. It was we shared some of the resources that have come through the commission. So we shared with them a lot of what we heard about at the Washington, D.C. convening. So some of the plans by the National Commission, we shared with them some of the different organizations that are involved on the commission, what funding sources there are as of right now. So CT Humanities and the 250th as a funding priority, and some IMLS and MPS resources for anyone who has institutions that connect to those. And then we kind of shared a broader idea of some of the initiatives that we've talked about as a commission. So we talked a little bit about fairs and festivals. We shared that the IDA program guide was coming out. And then we shared the affiliate program with them, I believe. And then just really had a chance for them to go around and share where they are in the planning process. I think as far as I know, as I remember, those were the big points. We have another meeting scheduled for either late September, or early October. I can't remember exactly. And I believe that this information was sent out in an email to folks, but I am not remembering exactly who received it at this point.
Okay.
Thanks, Liz.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, I think that this all sounds good. You may have been giving them so much information that they were not able to figure out what it was they needed. That's just my, that's so much. I
Yeah,
might not have been able to figure out what I needed after that. So I would have just said, well, we need more.
yeah. And I
Anyway.
will say that out of that also came this idea that monthly meetings would be really helpful for them. So that has since been set up. We skipped August because everybody was on vacation in
Away, yeah.
August.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to suggest this and then I'm going to go, and I'm not offering anybody else but me. But if you thought it would be useful to divide people up into smaller groups, municipalities up into smaller groups, I would be happy to meet once a month virtually. And I'd pull in it. My suggestion would be to pull in the DRSOs, and that would connect them to those folks who are working on this. And I would be happy to lead one of those groups as a commission member. Like, to me, that would be an easy lift if we could figure out a time for me to do it, but I'm sure we could figure something out. So even in the evening, if we did it after work, that's fine. Like a 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock meeting.
Thanks, Liz. That sounds great. Right now, we're still only at about 40 or so. So we're not quite at enough. I don't think every DRSO would have enough organizations.
I don't
to make
think
it
that
worth it.
matters. I think 40, I
Okay.
mean, 40 is still too many to get into the nitty gritty of everybody talking and sharing plans in a short time. I was thinking maybe designated regional service organization. That's how arts and culture works in the spider web of getting our stuff out. There's 8 of them. And, even 5 or 6, 3 to 5 seems like that might be actually useful to move the needle, because they will know people in other towns too.
Yeah.
And it's another way of growing that network. Anyway, I have to go. For what it's worth, tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cindy, this may be something that you've done already. I just am not totally, I think it's in the spirit of what you're doing, but I think at some point it would be useful if you, at the meeting of the 40 organizations that are moving forward, to ask them to sit while they're in the meeting and fill out a brief online form that says, this is what we are planning. This is the major stumbling block. This is whether, this is what we're planning. Is it definitely going to happen, or are you still trying? And what is the major stumbling block here? What's the biggest obstacle between here and it happening that you see on the horizon? And I think that list would be very useful, because as I've been saying as we all been saying for a long time, it's like we're just sort of flailing, frankly. But if we had a list of 40 activities that were in the works around the state, then we could, and 20 of them had the same stumbling block. Clearly, the thing for us to do is support them in that thing. I don't know if they need a historical accuracy
Yeah.
page or not, but if a bunch of people said they wanted it, I'd be glad to make it for them. I don't want to make it for no one to use. So let's so anyway, that's my suggestion is that you report back to us at some point with just the list and the need, and really ask them to fill it out in a thing. Because I think to Liz's point, if you say, what can we do? They say general support. But if they have to type in a box, they might give something more specific.
That's a great idea. We included the what do you need from the commission question in a survey out to them, but that was more of a scheduling survey. So I think the next step might be something
And I would
more
link it to
in-depth
their
about their
imagined event.
plans.
You know, it's like we are trying
Yeah.
to plan a parade. What's the stumbling block in the parade? We don't know how to get the permits or whatever. You know, like let us see what it, or like we're trying to plan a speaker series. We don't know who to invite. We're trying to have these discussions. We're worried that people are going to scream at each other. It's like let's see if we let's see if we can link the request to the aspiration.
Yeah, and what I'll also say is based on the conversation, this is probably something that we can do in like January, because as of July, everyone was still at the point where they're like, we're talking and we're trying to figure out what we want to do. So hopefully as they have, or we just started our committee
Sure.
2 weeks ago.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
So
and then just to say, because it's obvious, but there'll be clusters also of like, here's the people that want to do the speaker series. Here's the thing that's trying to do something in their schools, and here's the parade group. And then maybe it's not regional subgroups, but it's event type. And then they can help each other.
So just, I guess for my own clarification purposes here, it just sounds like one of the major goals of this committee is to more or less be a support organization for the municipal committees that are being formed and to figure out how we can help them help themselves really. Okay. Is there a master list publicly available of all of the commissions, the local commissions?
yeah. Rachel, can you throw that in the chat when you get a second? So yeah, there is a master list, and we just sent out a mailing to every municipality again with we're just confirming that this is the person we have on our list that's responsible, or we still don't have anyone on our list from your town who would be the best person to link out to. With the idea that basically what we do if we get a question from somebody wanting to get involved is we take that and then we send it to whoever's responsible in their town for a local committee. And most of what we're doing is just encouraging people to get involved locally. I'll say that the other chunk of this committee in terms of engagement is some of the organizations doing work, museums, libraries, so on and so forth. So it's kind of two different branches of outreach.
Definitely, yep.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at the full list now. I really want to put this all on a map. Like, and have the towns that have commissions, like, come up one color. Others not. Like, I really want to visualize that because I think that would be so useful for thinking about how people are going to get regionally organized, if at all. Like how many, I know you could do like how many people are in the River Cog and how many are in the Northwest Hills Cog or whatever. But I think that map, like if I had any time today, I would go and do that, like just in like Google or like story maps or something like that. But I do not have the time to do that. It would be a great thing on the website, I think, for pushing, is your town here? Like if it's not showing up on the map, do something. Like that's an engagement tool, I think, a visualization like that, potentially. And it's potentially a useful tool for us at the state level for thinking about where engagement is geographically. I don't know if you have thought about that or feel that there's any like labor power to do something like that, but I would love to see that. I would just get a map and color it in all the towns.
So I'm going to see if this is still up, but the Connecticut Library Consortium leads Take Your Child to the Library Day every year.
Mm.
And they have gotten, I think this past year we had like 165 towns participate. They do a really good effort and they use the visualization map.
Mm.
It's an interactive map too that
Oh, great.
if you hover over it, what is being offered for the day comes up on the side so you can see like what each town is doing, time and date and place. So if that's still live, I'll link it because I
Yeah.
do think that it's very it's engaging, and
Oh,
when you
yeah.
see that everyone else is around you, you want to get on the map too, to make sure you're not, there's like a FOMO aspect.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm
I
looking at
think
it now.
this was all really helpful. I don't want to keep people here longer than we need to.
Yeah.
I think we will send out a poll to see if there's a better time, to see if we can get more people back on these calls. I will say part of the thought behind the working groups is that perhaps with more direction or more focused work, some of the people we've lost might be more interested in coming back, but maybe we'll work on a message that will point away from group editing during a call and point more towards some very specific discussion and specific asks during these meetings on a quarterly basis, and hopefully get folks more engaged again. Because we've lost some voices, and
Yeah.
And
I
Cindy,
think they're helpful.
and your point, like, we don't need engagement for engagement's sake. If we have specific things to work on, we can make targeted requests of people who have already committed to the committee to say, we need your expertise for this project. And I think that would bring me, if I weren't getting paid to be here, that's what would bring me back, is okay, I understand that's something that you need me to do. But we need to know what those things are.
Yeah. Is there work the commission's doing around just kind of like general, like, civic season, voting, like, I'm just thinking about that sort of broader public engagement side of things, and that's the time to be talking about that. Is that something that we're sort of focused on at all or thinking about, or? And I'm curious what's happening kind of in the library community right now around any thinking about the 250th. Like, to what extent do you even see that as like something that people are kind of latching onto? Or are there other conversations that are happening that we should know about that would be helpful for thinking about engagement? Because like public libraries are like the obvious place to do so much public engagement, because like everybody goes to the library.
So there has been discussion within the library community. I know the in March, what was the conference called that was at Central? The Freedom
Declaring
Day
freedom.
conference.
Yeah.
There were, I know a lot of my colleagues and myself were there that day. I believe they're reaching out to the local commissions that have been formed in towns. And then let me just pull up. I didn't get too far with this. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes, so I'm glad it actually came up just now. But I received an email from somebody from the Connecticut Library Consortium, a separate group from the Connecticut Library Association, about history chip and oral histories. Is that something that is already in the works with the commission?
Yeah, so History Chip is one project. We are not funding them necessarily because we're already funding Fiona Vernal and her work with their story. Is that what it is?
Their
Okay,
story.
thank you. Yeah, so because of that, we decided that we would use that platform that is already being funded by CTH rather than funding a different platform to do oral history collection. I know that History Chip is doing something around the 250th, and we're not necessarily opposed to it. It's just we only have so many dollars to put out there.
Okay.
And we had this existing grant.
Okay, let me forward you what I have from them. History Chip has been a sponsor of the Connecticut Library Consortium, and I'm sorry I'm vague on the details here on how this kind of got started, but it seems to me that History Chip is looking to utilize public libraries, specifically for oral histories for the America 250. Was there another question that I glossed over here?
I had asked another question before I dug into the libraries, and it was, but I don't remember what it was anymore.
Oh, civics.
Oh, the civic stuff, yeah, and like the election, like.
Yeah,
I wish
think-
Merle were here, you know, on some of these things. So
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, the Secretary of the State is on the commission. So
right.
in terms of that, we are anything that we've been asked to amplify or push out of their office, we've been trying to do. But beyond that, I mean, we really don't have a huge amount of capacity to launch any new civics type program. So
No, I wasn't
mostly-
thinking of
yeah.
launching a civics type program. I'm just thinking about, I know I've said this before, but like the stuff that Made by Us is doing to use that kind of civic engagement and things around the election to like get people thinking about the 250th. I'm thinking more about what are the things that are already happening that like the broad public, that are opportunities for that broader public engagement beyond the organizational engagement. You know, that I know that we're always talking about the 250th as a way to like, you know, people should attach themselves to the 250th because, you know, like, it, you know, you can help you do the things that you're already doing and just like bring more eyes to them. But like, I'm also thinking, are there ways that we can do the same thing, harnessing stuff that's happening and that people are paying attention to already, kind of in lieu of festivals, say, right, you know, to raise the profile of the commission itself and the fact that there is a 250th. The upcoming election seems like one way that we could think about that. That was just a thought that was in my head.
Cindy, can I ask this is not really a question for this group so much as for the commission, but just while we're here before we sign off, have you figured out what the budget request is going to be for the next session and what you're telling people it's for? Has it changed from last year, or is it the same request for the same stuff?
It will change. I don't think we've quite narrowed down to what it will be. And I feel that's all I'm gonna say for now. And I think we should have more clarity before the commission meeting for sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to get out in front of it. I just like whenever I hear about, you know, promoting the work of the commission, I think, well, no, respectfully, like we should be promoting the thing that we aspire to do or that we plan to do. So I was curious if you knew what that thing was, which obviously has to be revised now for presumably a constricted request and a constricted time period. So I was curious if I think that will be another, once that is together, that will be another occasion for us to have something to rally behind. And I respect that now's not the time to talk about it. That's great. You know, I hear you. But whenever that is, then that might be a time to also try to get reorganized and re-energized.
Great. Well, thanks, everyone. I'm gonna call it, well, actually, I guess I should let you call it, Amherst. Sorry.
That's fine. If you feel like we've accomplished everything, here's what I'm sort of seeing in summary, in order to separate into working groups, we need more people present at the meeting. So in furtherance of that, Cindy and Rachel are going to craft a doodle poll to schedule a meeting probably in November, before the end of the calendar year, but after the next commission meeting, and see if we can find a time where we can get more participation. I think pending the attendance at that meeting, I think we can figure out some of the best ways to proceed, whether working groups are sort of a thing or whether we just want to think a little bit more carefully about how to structure our own work. I think the other big takeaway was, there was a lot of interest in hearing more directly from the group of local commissions and some interest from several commissioners around being a part of those meetings. I would certainly be interested in coming to one of those and learning a little bit about what folks have going on, and using that as an arena for gathering input to guide the specific things that we may create or do as a subcommittee. So I think those are the big things that I'm taking away from today.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
good. Yeah.
Cindy, did you see the hurricane at all? Or was it west of?
It's now west of us. Last night was kind of touch and go. But now it's a beautiful sunny day, just very, very windy still.
Good. Go to
so-
Felix's fish camp. That's the one. Go to Felix's fish camp. That's the crab shack. That's my favorite in Mobile. As a former regional person, find time. There's something at the conference that's not worth your time. Go have some crabs. That's my idea.
Okay. I'm a vegetarian, but I'll tell Jason.
Do not go there. Never. Do not waste your time. Do not miss a minute of the conference. And